Well, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the 2022 State of the City Address brought to you by the Brampton Board of Trade. My name is Todd Letts. I am CEO of the Brampton Board of Trade, and acting as your host today, we are going to hear from two dynamic community leaders, Mayor Patrick Brown, the mayor of the city of Brampton, and Donna Fagon-Pascal. Donna Fagan-Pascal is the chair of the Brampton Board of Trade and a VP with DynaCare here in Brampton. And today is also a special day because we will recognize one of Peel Region Police Service's finest, Constable Samratpal Singh Sudan. But before we go too far, I just want to point out a bit of housekeeping for you. You're probably familiar with this platform that we're using. To your left, you can, to the left of your screen, you can access our expo, where you can find out more about our sponsors today. You can find out some interesting research, our Business Confidence Index, and a review of our annual highlights, I understand, is there as well. Other programs and services of the Board of Trade are available to you in the expo, or again, the icon on the left can facilitate one-on-one networking as well. On the right-hand side of your screen, we have our chat function, and we're encouraging you to ask questions to our community leaders. And if at any time you have any questions, we've got Christy and Jennifer from our Board of Trade team there providing care for our guests here today. Ladies and gentlemen, the business community looks forward to this event every year. And if this is your first Brampton Board of Trade event, welcome. We're really happy that you're able to invest time with us on this special day. Now, as we start, I wonder if you could please join me in acknowledging the land on which we gather and our commitment to fostering renewed relationships built on the foundation of mutual understanding and respect. As you know, the Brampton Board of Trade operates in the city of Brampton in the region of Peel, and this region is part of the treaty lands of the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit, and for thousands of years, Indigenous people inhabited and cared for this land and other regions along the corridor. Specifically, we acknowledge both the territory of the Anishinaabeg, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and the Ojibwe Chippewa peoples, and the land that is home to the Métis, and most recently, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit of the First Nation, who are direct descendants of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We are grateful to have opportunity to work on this land, and by doing so, we pay our respect for its and to its first inhabitants. At the Brampton Board of Trade, as we gather today as participants for this event, we believe everyone is free to be their true self. And to receive the same respect and opportunities regardless of age, ethnicity, gender, culture, identity, sexual orientation, beliefs, or language. And we hope that you will join us in fostering a positive environment to ensure a safe and welcoming space for all. Ladies and gentlemen, it's no secret that it's been a disruptive year for many of us, but there's a lot to look forward to in the future, and the continued support of our businesses through membership and our corporate partners through sponsorship has given the Brampton Board of Trade the ability to quickly adopt and make our digital transformation and provide you with the resources, the support, the advocacy that you need to help our city prosper. So today's event would not have been possible without the support of our generous sponsors. I want to say thank you to our silver sponsor, Toronto Pearson Airport. Thank you so much. Our gold sponsors, Maple Lodge Farm, and congratulations to you for your work on your booster shot campaign, RioCan, and the work that you're doing at the Shoppers World Redevelopment, Algoma, where Mayor Brown and Chair Donna Pascal will be speaking today from their Center for Social, Cultural, and Economic Innovation. Thank you, Algoma. DynaCare is a gold sponsor, and hats off to them. A wonderful year they've had with their DynaCare for Diabetes campaign. Deloitte, thank you for your advice for your advice and guidance. And of course, the Business Person of the Year will celebrate Heather Stratty later this spring. Zocan, thank you for your gold level investment and your investment in green technology as well. And Goodison Insurance, we thank Scott Goodison for his support, leading small businesses and leading our Policy and Government Relations Committee. I also want to thank our platinum sponsors. Bell Canada will learn more about the Let's Talk 2022 campaign today. Thank you to Toronto Dominion, TD, BBOT's longest continuous sponsor. We appreciate your constant and reliable sponsorship, and also the great financing you provide for all different sectors, but in particular the logistics sector here in Brampton. Sheridan College, thank you for your sponsorship, platinum sponsorship today. Thank you for the 25 degrees that you offer, the many other programs, and the liaison that you have with industry, and your recent efforts to enhance the experience of international students is very, very much appreciated. I want to thank the City of Brampton for their platinum sponsorship as well. Gosh, the city has done so many good things in attracting many new investments, in building Brampton's innovation ecosystem. We're going to learn more about that today, I'm sure, as well. And to our presenting sponsors, two very special companies that have helped us put on some amazing events, engage with the businesses across the sector. I want to say thank you to Amazon. Amazon for not only being a presenting sponsor today, but for supporting more than 40,000 small businesses on your platform, your Amazon platform, e-commerce platform. That's just amazing. And CN today is also our presenting sponsor, and I can't say enough good things about CN. Thank you for keeping food and drugs and medicines to all parts of Canada during these challenging times. We're joined here today by Daniel Salvatore. Daniel Salvatore is Manager of Public Affairs for Ontario and Atlantic Canada. He is a tremendous champion for CN, a tremendous champion for Brampton. CN has been fortunate to have Dan at the helm since January of 2018. I guess you're just celebrated an anniversary, Dan. We're so happy for you. We understand that you're responsible for growing and supporting CN's people, their business and reputation. You oversee all interactions with CN, with our neighbors, business neighbors, municipal, provincial, and communities in between. So thank you so much for that engagement. Thank you for your support today, Dan. And Dan, over to you.
Todd, can't thank you enough for that kind introduction. Good morning, Your Worship. Good morning, Chief Duriapa, and members and guests today. I'm happy to be with you representing CN's over 24,000 railroaders who service and operate our North American network. Todd, you know this, CN remains a proud partner of the Brampton Board of Trade. We're delighted to be one of the two presenting sponsors for Mayor Brown's State of the City address today and other aspects to today's event. I'm happy to share a quick update with everyone this morning, which is that CN has in hand all major required federal approvals for the Milton Logistics Hub. And further to this, activities already happening on site and will continue to ramp up as time goes on. This new inland intermodal terminal will alleviate and work in tandem with our Brampton Intermodal Terminal, the largest we have in North America, in Brampton that is, by increasing needed inland supply chain capacity, something we're hearing a lot about in the news these days. Additionally to this, the new facility will be state-of-the-art with industry-leading design and sustainability features. I won't take too much time, but I invite you to learn more about this project at cnmilton.com. It's now my privilege and my honor to introduce Chief Nishan Duriapa. Chief Nish was born in Sri Lanka and immigrated to Canada. He began his career with Halton Police in December 1995. He served in a variety of assignments throughout his career, including frontline policing, specialized investigations, and diversity and community relations. He was promoted to Deputy Chief of Halton Police in 2015, leading frontline policing, community mobilization, as well as innovation and technology. In October of 2019, Chief Nish was appointed Chief of Peel Regional Police. He arrived with a mandate for change and the strategic goal of becoming the most progressive police service in Canada. Amidst the first year of his command, Peel Regional Police championed the following: the creation of its first ever community-embedded intimate and partner violence unit to respond to the growing needs in our region, a re-emphasis on frontline policing, a roadmap for innovation and technology, as well as a digital officer transformation plan to better equip officers to serve the community. And lastly, the adoption of the Community Safety and Well-being, or CSWB framework, and establishment of a CSWB bureau to modernize traditional community policing. Chief Nish is committed to the safety and well-being of the community he serves, with one of the primary focuses being mental health and seeking multi-sectoral collaborative partnerships to reduce risk in the community. Chief Nish is heavily involved in the community. He holds a Bachelor of Arts degree in Sociology and Criminology from the University of Toronto and a Diploma of Public Administration from the University of Western Ontario. Chief Nish serves as Vice President of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Board of Directors as well. He is the recipient of the Queen Elizabeth II Diamond Jubilee Medal and an Officer of the Order of Merit Canada. I now invite you all to join me in please welcoming Chief Nish, Chief of Peel Regional Police, to the stage today. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Good morning, and thank you, Dan. Todd, you can hear me loud and clear. Great. Amazing. Dan, thank you for the introduction. We'll have to find a shorter one for that, for sure. But speaking of shorter, I just want to say it's my privilege to be here again at the State of the City address. I want to thank the Brampton Board of Trade for inviting us, Peel Police, to be a part of it. Todd, as you recall, this was one of my first events that I did coming to Peel Region. Have really sincerely appreciated the relationship of the board and being able to speak to you independently and offline about strengthening the community, because we all know that a safe and healthy community means one that's vibrant for trade and business. And we're very proud of the strength of our relationship today. And by the way, the reason I said short was that was one of the first events I came to. And I think, as you recall, one of the first comments was somebody approached me in person when we were able to do it in person and said, "Hey, Nish, you look taller. We thought you'd be taller in real life." So anyways, virtual seems to do me well. But really, I just want to shift to the fact that we as a police organization are significantly, have seen some significant pressures in the last 2 years, none that we've never seen, let alone the health pandemic, geopolitical. We can see what our colleagues are facing right across this province. And very rarely do we get the opportunity to take a stop and pause and acknowledge the individual actions of an officer. So I'm gonna, it'll be just really my privilege to introduce this officer to you and his work. But I want to thank the Board of Trade for doing that. We say, we're greater than the sum of our parts, right? And when you start to look at the individuals, we really appreciate you doing this for us. Mayor Brown has had a direct line of sight to our activities. He and I speak regularly about what's happening, but this is a real privilege for me to do that. And just, in a nutshell, I want to reiterate for the business community, and Mayor Brown and I talk about this all the time, we need to celebrate the fact that we are the safest, largest urban municipality in Canada. And notwithstanding that, we do see challenges, high profile incidents, and you can't get a population this big right in the epicenter of the province and not experience things. But we also need to dwell on the fact that this is a vibrant and strong community, which we will continue to invest in as a police agency with you, with the city, and all our partners to make sure we do that. And we are starting to see the fruits of the labor in the last couple of years, a reduction in some serious pressures. Nonetheless, we are committed to doing that. And as you heard in my introduction, is we're going to focus on modernizing our approach to policing, to becoming innovative and flexible, to investing in good quality people and the training that we get, because when we're good on the inside, we're good on the outside. And we want this municipality, the city of Brampton, to really see the fruits of that come to fruition in the years to come. And can I tell you, Constable Sudan is the exact epitome of everything we described. And so, Sim, hey, nice to see you. I know I'd be standing beside you on stage and have a privilege of being able to acknowledge this award with you. So with that, I'm going to, I want to thank the chair of the board, Todd, Dan, for the introduction, for having us here. This is about Constable Simritpal Singh Sudan, who the Board of Trade has acknowledged as this year's Honorary Officer of the Year. And when I'm done describing him, you will then also see why I'm giving him so much of the recognition himself. So Constable Simritpal Singh Sudan, can you wave, buddy, for us? He's there, a very humble officer. He's a constable, a uniformed constable assigned to 22 Division in Brampton. I want to acknowledge Superintendent Sean Gormley. He's online watching too. It's one of his officers. Sim, as we call him, is assigned to one of our community mobilization teams. It's a non-traditional team that's intended to get upstream, start mitigating some of the risks we see in the community, and also plug people into connections to services. But he's also part of our foot patrol unit in 22 Division. He's a remarkable young man, multilingual, speaks English, Hindi, Punjabi, is also a member of our region Sikh and South Asian community, an active member at his local Gurdwara. Sim is highly regarded by his peers, his supervisors, and you'll see, because of his positive and selfless attitude and his consistent work ethic, makes him a real remarkable individual with a willingness to help people all the time. He epitomizes accountability, equity, service excellence, which we are proud of. And it's all pillars of what we are strategically trying to achieve here. He is cognizant of Peel's mission to protect the rights and well-being of others through his work and his engagement as well. He's utilized his platform as a Peel police member, but also as a member in the South Asian community to develop significant fostering relationships and strengthening our understanding. So when I tell you a little bit about Sim's activities and his passion to community, here's just a few of them. It started even well before he was a Peel police member, and he's been a member for 5 years, which you'll at the end of this realize his accomplishments in 5 years are quite remarkable. He was previous to that an auxiliary member of Toronto Police and assisted in partnership in many, many ways in the community. He also served with Global Medic to provide supplies for in overseas service to Burma and Nepal for critical support for people. He was also an existing board member of the Peel Crime Stoppers, and recently celebrated 10 years of service with Big Brothers Big Sisters of Peel as a youth mentor, where he has dedicated countless hours on an annual basis in this capacity. He also is a key critical member of a charity that I and members of the community helped bring to Peel in the last 2 years, called Pro Action Cops and Kids. It's where the business community can come alongside of the police community to deliver programming for under-resourced youth. And in this vein, Sim himself proactively took on an initiative to write a proposal under the Pro Action banner to run a cricket programming for young children here in Brampton and Peel. It's endorsed by Peel Police and Pro Action Cops and Kids. He, on top of that, commits hours coaching these teams and engages in many, many different ways with young people to build connections between young people, which we know is so valuable, the police, and other community organizations. He, as a member of the community mobilization team, he also goes one step further to make sure that he helps work with different not-for-profit social service agencies and stakeholders as part of his role with Peel Police. One, for example, is SHIP services housing in the province in Peel. Also, Peel Living with other members of his community mobilization team. Many, many events in the community. As you can see, this is just sort of the speed dating version of what Sim does for us. He is a remarkable young man, conscious of the importance of his role to help strengthen communication with our diverse community. We have this concept, and it's often said is, here we're in Peel region, named after Sir Robert Peel, who's the founder of the Principles of Policing. One which we kind of overstate is that the police are the public and the public are the police. But Sim is one of these gentlemen that when he's got a uniform on or when he's in the community, he embodies the next half of the principle, which says that not only is it incumbent upon police to do this role, but the entire community, those that aren't paid. And this is where we truly believe we're stronger together when we look at public-private partnerships coming alongside policing. I can stand in front of a microphone regularly and espouse these details, but on a day-to-day basis, it's officers like Constable Simmerpal Singh Sudan who epitomize that. So with that, I want to thank the Board of Trade for recognizing Simmerpal. I'm not sure if you have your award there, Sim, and you're able to lift it in front of the screen, but we'll make sure we present it to you and get it to you. Congratulations. We're very proud of you on behalf of Peel Regional Police and your entire community.
Thank you very much, Chief. It is my honor to be the recipient of this year's Brampton Board of Trade Trade's Peel Police Service Award, and I'd like to extend my thank you to the Brampton to the board for selecting me as the recipient. I also want to extend my thank you to yourself, Chief Duriapa, to my divisional superintendent, Superintendent Sean Gormley, and my immediate supervisor, Sergeant Bradley Clement, who nominated me for this award. I know Brampton Board of Trade's their focus is organizational excellence and developing community partnerships, which reflects Peel Police's vision, a safer community together. And I believe our community is at the heart of everything that we do, which is why we work tirelessly to build relationships with the public. And I take a lot of pride in being a part of one of the most progressive police organizations in Canada. And as members of Peel Regional Police, we always strive to strengthen the relationships between the community and the public. And we thank our community partners who recognize this work that we do. So again, I thank everybody for being a part of this and for selecting me as this year's recipient. It is truly my honor. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Duriapa, and congratulations to Constable Simmerpal Singh Sudan on your achievements of being the recipient of the Peel Police Service Award. Amazon Canada ourselves have close to 40,000 employees across Canada, with 8,000 in Brampton. Needless to say, the incredible work you do to protect the rights and well-being of our very large local team is so valued by our company. And on behalf of Amazon, I'm honored to have the chance today to congratulate you and thank you personally. And now I have an additional honor of introducing the Brampton Board of Trade Chair, Donna Fagon-Pascal. Donna Pascal has 20 years of experience in human resources, serving the last 17 as a senior HR executive for several Fortune 500 companies. Currently leading the Human Resources Communication and PR function at Dynacare, a leading Canadian health and wellness solutions provider. As Vice President, Human Resources Communications and Public Relations, she has very few responsibilities, clearly. Donna leads a team of 35 professionals and is responsible for overseeing organizational effectiveness, diversity and inclusion initiatives, communications, public relations, community giving, learning and development, talent management, talent acquisition, wellness and health and safety. Internally, Donna and her team are focused on creating an inclusive culture that inspires, grows talent, and allows employees to thrive at work and at home. Externally, Donna is also responsible for community engagement and public relations and plays a key role in building the Dynacare brand within the communities the company serves. Donna has a BA from the University of Western Ontario, as well as professional certifications in advanced human resource management from the University of Toronto Rotman School of Business, an alternative dispute resolution certificate from University of Windsor, and professional training in executive coaching. Donna also holds a certified human resources leader designation from the Human Resources Professionals Association. Donna is an elected member of the Brampton Board of Trade's Board of Directors and has served in this role since 2017 and is currently serving as the chair of the Brampton Board of Trade. In this capacity, Donna helps to support economic prosperity in the city of Brampton and the province's fourth largest city. Welcome, Donna.
Thank you and welcome everyone. It is my honor to represent you as Chair, Brampton Board of Trade. Thank you so much for this opportunity. It is also my honor to be part of the DynaCare team. Firstly, for their unending support of my role as your board chair, and secondly, for the opportunity to participate in supporting the Brampton community and Canadians at large in pursuit of safety, health, and wellness throughout the pandemic. I've been asked to say a few words about where Brampton is today and what's in store for 2022. This is difficult. Forecasting this ever-changing environment, as you can appreciate, is especially challenging. Who would have thought that a year ago we would have a third, fourth, and fifth wave of the pandemic? What has remained consistent over the past 2 years is that the dedication of Brampton business leaders to pivot and support their customers and their community. We should all be proud of each one of the 1,940 businessmen and women, members of the Brampton Board of Trade, who banded together to get us through some dark times. Let's pause and take a moment to celebrate the collective efforts and ongoing dedication of the family-owned and small businesses who make up 75% of our membership. I'd also like to recognize some of our large employers in the city who provide jobs for tens of thousands of Bramptonians. Finally, a very special recognition to all the healthcare and frontline workers for your tireless dedication in the fight against COVID-19. We thank you all for helping to ensure the ongoing safety and well-being of our community. Some of you will remember that at our AGM last November, I spoke about the themes of reflection, resilience, and reinvention. Today, as we anticipate the pandemic slowly subsiding, I see us bringing these themes to life. Looking ahead to 2022, I challenge us all to reflect on what we've learned from our rich tradition as a community. We've been here before, and I would suggest that time and again, we have overcome significant historical challenges. When I reflect on our tradition, our history and heritage, I am humbled. This year represents a 135-year anniversary of the founding of the Brampton Board of Trade. Yeah, that's right. In March 1887, Brampton business leaders gathered together for a Zoom call. Well, not really. They actually met at a dry goods store, and the issue at the time was securing a buyer for the town foundry, an initiative that proved successful 10 years later in 1897. This was a big deal at the time, creating jobs and reliable economic certainty in the community. Since then, there have been many Board of Trade advocacy wins on big community issues, such as extending the 410, investing in Brampton Civic Hospital, and the successful return of Peel Memorial. But it goes way and beyond these advocacy wins. And as a business community, we have demonstrated the ability to help each other out through some really tough times. Think about it. Within the first third of the Brampton Board of Trade's lifetime, business women and men endured the First World War, the Spanish flu, the Great Depression, and the Second World War. As difficult as these challenges were to overcome, as a community, we have shown that we can come through these events even stronger. My point is, we've got this. We've been here before, folks, and we got through it together. And we'll get through this pandemic and be stronger for it. Think about how far we've already come. In March 2020, many of us truly believed that the pandemic would only last a few weeks before things got back to normal. We persevered, but became increasingly dismayed as the weeks and months wore on. Looking at where we are today, it's our resilience that helped us get through that past 2 years, as we transformed our businesses to be successful in the new normal. Case in point, the Brampton Board of Trade itself went through a significant transformation over the past year. A new website, new digital networks, online interviews, and with business experts, engaging sector campaigns like Ready in Brampton and the People Outside Safely Together campaigns. Despite the third, fourth, fifth waves, we've hosted amazing virtual events such as Canada's Innovation Quarter Summit, the Fabulous Business Excellence Awards. The board has also demonstrated leadership by providing access to digital transformation training to its members through the Recovery Activation Program. This helped many of our members adapt to the ever-shifting playing field and ever-demanding expectations from their customers. It's important to note that confidence we draw from our tradition and the resilience that helped us transform our companies and our Board of Trade would not have come about as quickly without teamwork. We aren't just a group of business people here at the Brampton Board of Trade. We are a team, and teams come together when it matters the most. I have no doubt that when we continue to work together to reinvent ourselves, that we will continue to thrive in 2022 and beyond. Last year, we came together to support the Board of Trade as it worked tirelessly to help businesses that needed it the most, sourcing PPE, advocating for on-site vaccination clinics, supporting businesses with grants and loans, accelerating vendor payments, tax deferrals, accelerating patio permits, etc. Brampton Board of Trade showed up when it was needed the most. But this is exactly what the Brampton Board of Trade does. It works for you to represent and advocate for your interests. As an enabler, it is here to keep you informed about trends in the community so you can make connections that help you advance your business. Sometimes to make connections that not even you would have imagined would be helpful. But our work at the Board of Trade is never complete, and we aim to blaze a path forward to provide reliable leadership you look for from the board. So, what's ahead? That's the question on everyone's mind. What does the new normal look like in 2022? And how can the Board of Trade help you prepare? The first basic premise is that there is no going back. In a recent World Economic Forum poll, 86% of business people responded that they did not want the old world order. They want it to change significantly and to become more sustainable, more equitable, rather than going back to how it was before the COVID-19 crisis started. As we think about it and define the new normal, let's start with what we do have answers to, or some clarity around sustainability, innovation, and infrastructure. As it pertains to sustainability, we know there is an inextricable link between economic recovery, sustainable and inclusive development, innovation, and economic prosperity for our member organizations, our Board of Trade, and our city. I would argue that these factors have been cornerstones of our business community's success for decades. Many of you will be familiar with the United Nations Sustainable Development Agenda for 2030, which actually set out 17 goals. The Brampton Board of Trade is playing a key role in helping many of you meet your commitments to goals like economic growth, innovation, infrastructure, and sustainable cities and communities. And although these goals are global in nature, they are very relevant to our local context. As we look ahead, you can count on the Board of Trade to continue to help business with the following key initiatives. Board of Trade's first Energy and Environment Forum will take place on April 22nd of this year. It's an event that will showcase some amazing topics around climate learnings and solutions that are being employed by Brampton businesses. And to close out April, the Brampton Board of Trade will be hosting the Ontario Chamber of Commerce Policy Convention and AGM. We invite business leaders from across the province to Brampton to engage in this meaningful and important dialogue, an exchange of ideas, and to celebrate our 135th anniversary. And finally, in May, you can count on the board to represent you at the BizVote 2022. Debates for the provincial election in June, and again in September for the October municipal election. As it pertains to infrastructure, we will again harness the strength of our collective voice as a business community to advocate for transformational investments in Brampton. More specifically, in 2022, we will evaluate the city staff reports on comparative costs and formats for the route of the LRT extension from Steeles to Brampton GO Station. And throughout 2022, we'll advocate to accelerate the construction of the Highway 413 to create the needed jobs for the 152,000 Bramptonians that currently wake up every morning and must drive to other municipalities to work. And together, we will continue to provide forums for you to share your experience, expertise as we build a new normal, the best that serves our customers and employees. These are the things we know. But looking ahead, there's so many questions, so many considerations, worries, competing priorities, and so much uncertainty. Where will we find the answers? How will we overcome adversity? How will we continue our tradition as a resilient community that always finds a way to innovate? My response to these profound and compelling questions is simple. We will find these answers together as a business community and as concerned citizens who want to see Brampton thrive and be recognized as an economic engine that it is. We will approach it in the same manner as our founders who met 135 years ago, working together to secure a buyer for the town foundry. We will overcome adversity and utilize it as an opportunity for innovation. And we will leverage these opportunities to make us stronger, more vibrant, more relevant. There are experts within our community who bring information and perspectives that will help us move forward. We will tap into their wealth of knowledge and their expertise to help forge our path forward. We will continue to advocate on your behalf by continuing to work with the City of Brampton and the province to make the necessary investments in Brampton. Never have I been more confident in our ability to meet the challenges of the future. My confidence stems in large part in our business community, which is rooted in our recent business confidence survey, indicating 88% of business respondents have a high level of confidence in their organization. That's almost 9 out of 10 of you who told us you are confident in the economic outlook of our city. This, a team I believe in. This is a team I want to be on. I'd like to leave you with this thought-provoking African proverb. If you want to go quickly, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Let's boldly forge on together. Let us continue to build on our legacy of resilience and innovation and return here a year from now to reflect proudly on a year of achievement, of neighbor helping neighbor and business helping business, proudly building our future through the Brampton Board of Trade. And now I have the pleasure of introducing Lena DeMarco, Regional Director of Community Relations for Bell. She has been a strong supporter of the Brampton Board of Trade State of the City event for many years. Throughout her career, she has guided large enterprises with growing their community-based programs and initiatives. Notably, in her advocacy work is having raised over $6 million for charitable organizations, including another successful Bell Let's Talk campaign just last week. Ladies and gentlemen, Lena DeMarco.
Thank you, Donna, for the introduction, and hello, everyone. On behalf of all my colleagues at Bell, let me say what a pleasure it is to join you today and how proud we are to support this virtual event alongside the Brampton Board of Trade. Today, in what is becoming a familiar format in the virtual world, rather than have the actual event live in person, we are going to be treated to what promises to be an enlightening virtual event. And before we begin the event, I would like to take this opportunity to thank you, all of you who participated on Bell Let's Talk Day. Bell set a new record. Thanks to all of you who participated. On January the 26th, Canadians and people around the world took the biggest mental health conversation to new heights. Millions of messages of support for mental health were spoken, texted, tweeted, and written. We saw some truly inspiring messages on social media. A record of over 164 million messages of support were sent. And that drove an additional donation from Bell to mental health initiatives of over $8 million. The total Bell Let's Talk funding commitment now stands at almost $130 million. When it comes to mental health, now more than ever, especially through these challenging times, Let's keep the conversations going. Thank you for being a part of Bell Let's Talk Day. As a proud sponsor of State of the City, I have the honor of introducing the Mayor of Brampton, Mayor Brampton Patrick Brown. Patrick Brown was elected Mayor of Brampton in October 2018 on a platform of getting Brampton back on track and receiving a fair deal from our provincial and federal governments. As Mayor of Brampton, Patrick is focused on creating the economic climate for new investment and jobs. Patrick has a long involvement in serving in government. He was first elected in 2000 as a councillor in the city of Barrie. He served 2 terms before being elected in January 2006 as the Member of Parliament. From 2006 to 2015, Patrick was the chair of the Canada-India Parliamentary Association, and he also served as chair of the GTA caucus from 2011 to 2015. In May of 2015, Patrick was elected leader of the Ontario PC Party with the largest margin of victory in the history of the PC Party. He became the member of the provincial parliament in September 2015 for the riding of Simcoe North. He served as leader of the official opposition and education credit. Patrick was born in Toronto in 1978 of Irish and Italian descent. He graduated from St. Michael's College, then studied political science at the University of Toronto, and graduated with a law degree from the University of Windsor. He began his law practice in Brampton, where his father Edmund has practiced for decades. Patrick's mother Judy is a retired high school principal. Patrick and his wife Genevieve live in downtown Brampton with their son Theodore and daughter Savannah. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming Mayor Patrick Brown.
Well, thank you so much, Lena, for that kind introduction. We've done this a few times together. I'm sure you've got my bio memorized by now, but always great to have supportive corporate sponsors like Bell. I want to say it's a real honor and a privilege to be here with you for my annual State of the City address. This is my 4th one with the Brampton Board of Trade. And I just want to say right at the beginning, we're so grateful for the important and impactful role the Board of Trade plays in our community. You've been a real advocate for small businesses. And I just want to say to Todd and to Donna, thank you for the integral role that you play within our community. And you work very closely with our Economic Development Department. And I know they're grateful for that partnership. I'm actually doing this speech at Algoma University, one of your notable members, and they're doing great stuff in the downtown. A lot of people don't realize what they've been doing very quietly. Their computer science program, computer science and technology program. When I did the tour 6 months ago, I was blown away. So I'm actually in the Algoma campus with other members of the Board of Trade, all socially distanced, of course, and joining you digitally. But I do look forward to a time in the very near future when we can all be together again. For this annual event, because I think that's one of the aspects that is special about this event, when we can be with our colleagues who are the job creators in our community. I want to thank the Board of Trade for recognizing some of our heroes, our first responders. I understand Constable Sudin was honored today for his leadership, and I'm very proud of the efforts of the Peel Police. And Chief Nishan Dirapa has been an exceptional leader for the Peel Police. He is embracing new technology. He is looking at creative ways to combat criminal syndicates. And, you know, kudos on the most recent breakthrough with Project High Five, where they dismantled a major auto theft criminal organization. So Nishan, thank you for your leadership in our community. And thank you to the Board of Trade for recognizing the leadership of Constable Sudin and his partners in the Peel Police. When I decided to run for mayor in Brampton 4 years ago. It seems like time has flown by very fast. My focus was getting Brampton back on track. I wanted to make sure we were competitive with other cities in terms of our foundations when it comes to the fiscal realities of the city, the ability to operate in a competitive environment. And I was very much focused on getting a fair share for our city in terms of partnerships with other levels of government. And those are a few of the themes that I wanted to speak about today during the time I have allotted to me. The first issue that I wanted to highlight is tax competitiveness. When I looked at Brampton's dynamic 4 years ago, we had among the highest taxes in the GTA. And it is a fierce competition for jobs. Let's not kid ourselves. It is a competition for jobs and investment around the GTA. And if you're a business, you're going to look to a number of factors. You'll look at the availability of human resources talent. You'll look at the red tape. You'll look at the taxes on a municipal level. And certainly there's factors beyond municipal control like hydro rates or other provincial and federal issues that are important in the decision-making framework. But one aspect we can control is municipal taxation. And I know the Board of Trade has raised that alarm bell in the past. I'm grateful that consistently in the city budgetary process, the Board of Trade has been a voice of reason about wanting to make sure we don't lose sense of that key need for competitiveness. I'm very proud of this council. We are the only big city in Canada that has actually managed to achieve 4 straight municipal tax freezes. And if you look at the history in Brampton, and there's a chart that I'm highlighting that you should be able to see on your screen, shows the progress we have made. We're not going to be the city that is inconsistent with the others in the GTA. We're going to make sure we have competitive taxes. So that's never a reason not to invest in Brampton. That's never a reason not to grow your business in Brampton. We want to make sure we get those fundamentals right. And we're doing it in a manner that doesn't take away from our ability to invest in infrastructure and invest into city priorities. And I want to commend City Councillor Harkirat Singh, who one of the first things that he did when this new council met 4 years ago was put forward a motion to have a value for money audit on city services. And because we're taking that frugal approach, it has put us in a very strong position to manage our finances in a very careful manner. We have put record investments in our city reserves. Each year, we have set a new record for putting more money into the city reserves. That's our savings account for infrastructure, for collaboration with other levels of government. So it's one thing to be able to freeze taxes. It's another thing to also be able to save in record amounts. And so we're proud of those achievements in our budget. And I would note in this year's budget, we also made an historic contribution of $62.5 million towards the new hospital, which I will get into later. But I would note the value for money process did find substantial savings. 7.2 million in potential savings operationally, another $9.2 million in capital project reviews, 10.5 million in additional opportunities. So when you have that honest assessment of your finances, it's a healthy process. And I know the provincial government encouraged that to take place in municipalities across the province. We actually started that process before it was even encouraged and funded provincially. The next theme that I want to speak about is getting our fair share. I almost feel that Brampton was too polite for too long. If you look at the historic funding on a per capita basis, on everything from transit to healthcare, we were receiving among the smallest investments per capita of comparative big cities. And sometimes you need to speak up. Sometimes you can't be so polite if you want to see the type of investments that your community merits. And we've seen a 294% increase during this term of council in terms of investments from other levels of government. And I think part of that is because we have spoken up. And so today I wanted to speak about some of the key issues that are critical for our community in terms of that collaboration with other levels of government. And the two that I want to focus on are transit and healthcare, and why they're so critical for the progress of our city. On transit, you have to move people, you have to move product. You know, I know Todd has spoken a fair bit about transportation corridors and how they're important for businesses. Why look at the totality of that? One, how it's so important for businesses to have those transportation corridors to move goods, but also to move people. It's about quality of life. And so we have been actively advocating to achieve our transportation goals. And if you look at the slide, it speaks to the massive increases in ridership we're seeing in public transit. You know, I see a day where not only do we have rapid go transit, but we've got rapid bus transit, and we have an LRT connected to our downtown. That would be able, you know, that goal, you know, would really connect transit, would really make Brampton the type of city where you could see real movability for residents. And it's long overdue. If you look at the investments we've seen in public transit in many large cities around the world, we are behind the 8 ball in Canada, and we are particularly behind the 8 ball in suburban Canada, where we've seen more recent growth. So if you look at the priorities we have been advocating aggressively to the provincial and federal government for a fully funded light rail transit that connects us to the downtown, the Queen Street Highway 7 rapid transit connections, and electrifying our transit fleet at the same time, expanding our active transportation network. And if we're able to achieve that, and I should say the response has been very encouraging from both Queen's Park and Ottawa, we're going to have a world-class transit system, and that's the goal. That's the goal, is to have a world-class transit system that is clean, efficient, and green. And I would note the federal and provincial support for our new transit facility. That's a significant win. The partnership we have with the Government of Canada to electrify our entire transit fleet is exciting. You know, we'll be the first big city in Canada with a completely electrified transit fleet. And I'm proud of that. I'm proud to be a green example in Canada. You can invest in public transit, you can build effective, efficient transit systems, and you can do so in a manner that is environmentally responsible. And I believe we are setting an example in Brampton in terms of that commitment to green transit. In terms of healthcare, there's probably no issue that we get asked about more. And I think the pandemic has really exposed the weakness of not having adequate healthcare investments. You know, some people may not realize, but we declared a healthcare emergency in Brampton before the pandemic ever began. Our council unanimously passed a motion, began a campaign to speak about the shortages in healthcare funding, and they are stark. You know, we have on a per capita basis, less hospital beds than any other big city. We get funded on a per capita basis less than any other big city in Ontario. And so we put this call out to the provincial government as a challenge, really as a challenge to say, if we're committed to universal healthcare in Ontario and Canada, you can't treat a high growth suburban community different than a more established older community. We all pay the same provincial taxes, grudgingly so. We all pay the same provincial and federal taxes, and we should have the same quality of healthcare. And I have to say that call, it generated a lot of media attention. It put a lot of focus on Brampton, but we saw a real olive branch from the provincial government. You know, their announcement in last year's budget that they were going to build a new hospital on the grounds of the former Peel Memorial is great news for our community. That's a $1 billion commitment. I know there'll be some that try to say it's not enough, but when you haven't seen pennies for 15 years and you get $1 billion commitment, $1 billion with a B, there's no way to say it's not good news for your community. 250 beds initially, the ability to scale it up to 350, you know, that is real progress. We probably have a deficit of about 750, But this is a huge step in the right direction, and if we get a planning grant for a third hospital down the road, we'll be able to catch up to the provincial average. And so I'm excited that we're seeing progress on the healthcare front. We were static. We were treading water for 15 years, and we're now making progress. They're already starting some of the environmental work on the property, so construction is going to start soon, and it's going to be music to my ears when I hear those construction trucks when we go by that property and seeing that work happen. This has been a dream for many of us. And then getting a med school in partnership with Ryerson University, that's just a cherry on the top of our healthcare aspirations. A med school in Brampton is prestigious. A med school in our community will have spin-off jobs. And frankly, we haven't seen a new med school in the GTA in over 100 years. So this is something that is going to be a real boost for our community. And I would mention there's a lot of talk about going in the downtown. And I think it could also be a catalyst for some of the activity that we're excited to see happen in the downtown. And I want to thank all our academic partners. Part of the success we're seeing right now in Brampton is we've got some great academic partners that are actively thinking of good ideas for our community, which is something that we obviously welcome. Speaking of downtown Brampton, where I am right now, and I'm sure Todd's there too in the Board of Trade office, there's something special happening in the downtown. And, I think of former Premier Bill Davis, who we sadly lost earlier this year. One of his famous speeches in the legislature, he spoke about creating the jobs of tomorrow, not the jobs of yesterday. And the efforts we are seeing with the Board of Trade in the city of Brampton in the downtown are focused on those opportunities of tomorrow, those jobs of tomorrow. The funding we got from the federal government for Riverwalk sets the stage for economic activity in the downtown. That Riverwalk project, that flood mitigation works, was essential in terms of making sure we're not limited in what we can invest and build in the downtown. But if you look at some of the recent announcements of what we're seeing embarked upon in the downtown, you are going to see a radically different downtown Brampton in the years to come. And I'm invested in this. I believe in our downtown. I believe in the capacity of our downtown. I believe in the potential of our downtown. I live in our downtown, and I know what is possible. And right now we are investing in an innovation district with agreements starting in 2019. The city is committed to investing approximately $20.5 million in the innovation district, and an additional $55 million in investments being drawn in by the innovation district partners. From 2019 to 2021, 6 new partners have established their presence in the innovation district. Partners in the innovation district include entrepreneurial, business incubation, post-secondary training, accelerator spaces like the Brampton Entrepreneur Center, Beehive Brampton, which is a soft landing spot for international tech companies, the Ryerson-led Venture Zone, Altitude Accelerator, the Founder Institute, Algoma University, and the Rogers Cybersecure Catalyst Headquarters and Accelerator. Sheridan Edge and the Brampton Board of Trade and Downtown Brampton BIA are all key partners in our innovation district. And we're seeing companies in the tech space, in the innovation space, be attracted to our community. You look with Electra, choosing Brampton as a site for its new operations center. You look at expansions we're seeing from other Brampton businesses. We are seeing activity in Brampton. Kudos to Maple Lodge Farms and Brampton Brick for their expansions that will create jobs. And just to look at the global picture here, I want to share some numbers that I find encouraging. I always get the planning department to brief me on this. But we've seen $1.73 billion in total construction value in 2021. That's up from $1.37 billion in 2020. We're seeing $1.24 billion in total residential construction value, up from $1.03 billion in 2020. We're seeing $487 million in total non-residential construction in 2021, up from $342 million. We've issued 12,105 building permits, despite the fact we've been in a pandemic. We're building in Brampton. We're investing in Brampton. And I want to credit our planning department for really learning how to adapt to the restrictions that existed during COVID to not stop economic activity. The fact they've issued more building permits during a pandemic speaks to their ability to adapt, and I'm proud of that team, led by Richard Ford and supported by Claire Barnett. The other thing I want to speak about today is you've got a Brampton City Council that is leading in conversations important to our province and to our country. And I know the Brampton Board of Trade has been outspoken about the realities of COVID. It's been hard. It isn't just a health pandemic. It's obviously put enormous pressure on our healthcare system and exposed the frail and fragile nature of our healthcare system, but it's been an economic tidal wave. Now, I don't understate the consequences of this pandemic on our small businesses and our businesses of all sizes for that matter. And we got to get back on our feet. We have to learn to live with COVID. We have to learn to reopen safely. We have to have that capacity to grow and succeed as a country. And I know the Board of Trade has been outspoken about making sure there's adequate supports for businesses, that there was adequate vaccines. And I'm grateful for the voice you've inserted into this conversation. And I can tell you on a political level, myself and Brampton Council have been doing that as well. You know, when I was concerned we weren't getting accurate hospital data, you know, I led a push that led to the change of hospital reporting province-wide. When we felt that some of the restrictions that were imposed on small businesses weren't based on the science and data that we were seeing from public health, we managed to shift the provincial decision-making process. And so I think you're seeing a Brampton Council and a Brampton leadership that is speaking out well beyond our own borders for the good of the province and for the good of the country. And that's not limited to our ability to live with COVID and protect our businesses, but I think on a lot of issues of national importance, whether it's ICU capacity or you know, issues as fundamental as religious freedom, you know, we have a council that has shown leadership around this country. You know, I look at the Bill 21 issue, and we led a campaign that caught the imagination of cities across the country, from Vancouver to Calgary to Edmonton to Winnipeg, to our neighbors in Toronto and Mississauga. We caught the imagination of the country standing up for values that are important to our city. And of course, multiculturalism, religious freedom, living the mosaic, that's in our DNA in Brampton. So I'm excited about what lies ahead for our community. I'm proud of the leadership that our city has shown again and again on issues that have confronted our city, our province, and our country. You know, Donna mentioned that she's excited about the future. I'm excited about the future. And every month, new opportunities come before our city, and people want to be part of the Brampton conversation. You know, looking at the investment that Rogers is talking about doing in our downtown, it gets you excited. I'm excited about Brampton. I'm optimistic about the months and years ahead. And I think anyone who is smart understands that Brampton is a great investment, that Brampton is a great place to grow your business, to raise a family. And you know, I want to thank the Board of Trade for being a partner with the city of Brampton in the progress we're seeing in this city. And, you know, I got to give Todd credit. He's very hands-on. If he has an issue, he won't wait to email or write a letter. He'll text me right away and tell me what the Board of Trade thinks, tell me what the business community thinks. And that's the approach I have. We have to be hands-on. We have to be determined and driven if we want to see the city achieve its potential. So thank you for the opportunity to share a few words. I've tried to be mindful of the 15 minutes allotted to me, but I'm really looking forward to the question and answer part of this annual State of the City conversation.
Thank you, Mayor Brown. We're looking forward to the Q&A portion as well that's coming up next and learning more about some of those great initiatives. Your excitement clearly is very clear, and you've got me excited as well. I'm Amin Sandhu from TD Bank. I'm the vice president of our GTA West office, which is located right in Brampton. I just wanted to say a few things. At TD Business Banking, we're committed to helping small, medium, and large businesses in our community, alongside our great partners at the Brampton Board of Trade, to continue to grow. As Mayor Brown indicated, COVID has had tremendous impact on the businesses in our community, and we continue to work with those businesses to find solutions to help them get through this. As someone had mentioned, I think we're in a fourth or fifth wave. We're starting to lose count. But I think there is light at the end of the tunnel here. And we've got the tools and options to help those businesses come out of this as the economies reopen, and to grow stronger prior to when COVID hit us. It's now time to move into the next portion of the event. As Mr. Brown mentioned, the panelist and Q&A discussion with Patrick Brown, as well as the Brampton Board of Trade Chair, Donna Pascal, and Brampton Board of Trade CEO, and my good friend, Todd Letts. So please welcome them back to the main stage here, and we look forward to hearing from you all.
Well, Aman, thank you so much for being a part of this exciting event and leading us into the Q&A period. I'm excited about this next portion of our State of the City address, and thank you again to Toronto Dominion for your active engagement sponsorship today. You'll notice that Donna and Mayor Brown have joined me here on the virtual stage for our Q&A portion. Donna has prepared a few questions to get us started, and I encourage our audience to add questions that you might have. Add your questions to the comments in the chat, and I'll do my best to summarize those questions for our keynote speakers here today. Donna, your first question for the mayor, please.
Thank you, and thank you, Mayor Brown. Mayor Brown, what role do organizations like the Brampton Board of Trade play in shaping city government?
Well, I'll be blunt. The Board of Trade is an invaluable partner for the city. You're the voice of our business community. You're the voice of our job creators. And if you want to have prosperity in your community, you need jobs and employment and that industrial tax base. I would also say if you want talent, you can find it by talking to people that work in the Board of Trade. My communications director, you may not know this, Gary Collins, but you know where he got trained? Working at the Brampton Board of Trade. So if you want talent, you want acumen on the city, talk to your partners at the Brampton Board of Trade.
That's great. Thank you, Mayor Brown. Next question I have for you. Can you describe your Brampton in 30 years? What would you like your legacy to be?
I want Brampton to be an example of for other cities. I want Brampton to be a city that has doubled down on the jobs of tomorrow, that is an example of environmental sustainability, that is connected when it comes to transit, is a city that is harmonious, that we live and respect our mosaic. I want Brampton to be a community that punches beyond its weight. I look at Brampton, and we've got all the ingredients to be one of Canada's great contributing urban hubs. And we're the 9th largest city in Canada, but based on growth rate, we're going to be in our lifetimes, maybe the 6th or 7th largest city in the country. And with that growth comes the opportunity to build the city in the way that you dream and aspire for. In an older city, you don't have the time to adapt. And so I think we have the capacity to, put together the best of Canada's big cities. And I look at the environmental sustainability of Vancouver, how they've integrated active transportation, and it's beautiful when we still have the time to incorporate that into our city building. I look at how Toronto in their inner core have really embraced tech companies and innovation. And similarly to the Kitchener-Waterloo corridor, that's what we're focused on right now. I look at the connectivity of a community like Montreal and how they've invested in public transit. We have the opportunities to do that here. And so I think because we're in that period of growth, we still have the ability to greatly impact the type of city that we're going to be living in the years ahead. And so, I hope Brampton is a city that people talk proudly about. I hope that our legacy in Brampton is that it's a place that businesses want to be and families want to be, and that people talk with pride about the city of Brampton.
Well, thank you, Mayor Brown. And I want to pick up on that theme of pride for the question that I'd like to ask. Your presentation, your State of the City address, was just full of excitement and promise, and it really makes listeners, citizens of Brampton, feel proud about their city. My question is, if you take a look at this term of council, 2018 to 2022, there's been so many different initiatives, positive initiatives. Is there one outstanding council priority that you would like to see brought to completion before the 2018 to 2022 term wraps up this October?
So I think we're seeing the type of progress we want to see when it comes to healthcare. I'm pleased with the direction we're taking when it comes to the fiscal fundamentals in terms of getting competitive taxes. I believe the public safety work that Chief Nishin has embarked upon are in the right direction. I guess the area that we really need to push over the finish line is public transit. And, I have been actively lobbying for that partnership to get the LRT into the downtown. As you know, we have a council resolution that was unanimously adopted, 11-0. The area of contention previously in the downtown, there was an agreement that it could be tunneled. We have the cost, and I was with Dominic LeBlanc in Ottawa. He's committed that he will support the project. He's the federal infrastructure minister. I was meeting last week with Kinga and putting a little bit of Kinga Surma, who's the provincial infrastructure minister, and putting a little bit of pressure on her with Prabhat Sakaria and Amarjit Sandhu. And she's saying the right things. She's saying that the federal government is there. They want to be there. It's about making the allocation. We turned down money in 2017, and you can't go back in time. And this creates an opportunity to create a better path forward, a better way to handle this issue. With the twists and turns that come in government, those twists and turns create opportunity. I think what we put forward to the federal provincial governments would be a great project for public transit in Brampton, but we need to turn their encouraging remarks and their supportive words into an announcement. And so there's one project I'd love to see get across the finish line. It's that connectivity of the LRT into the downtown. And if we had Rogers there, like they're talking about, boy, would that create a dynamic and vibrant downtown.
It sure would, Your Worship, and thank you for stating that as the priority. Like you say, there are many needs that we have, but that one has transit and its return on investment and what it can mean to the quality of life and connectivity, not only within the city, but when you have that transit right to your Brampton GO station, the regional connectivity as well is truly promising. So thank you for keeping the senior level of government ministers' ears red with your call and your case for increased transit in Brampton. Your Worship, I've been asked to ask an important question. Please forgive me of its political nature, but it's been a very eventful few days in Ottawa. I'm not speaking of the truckers' blockade. I'm speaking of the changes in Conservative leadership, and I've got to ask outright: will you be seeking the Conservative Party leadership?
Well, let me say I'm very happy in Brampton. My family's very happy in Brampton. We love living in Brampton. I love my job as mayor. I don't think it's a surprise to many that I've received a lot of phone calls from across the country from MPs and senators and activists that they believe there could be a different approach and path followed for the federal Conservative Party. After the last federal election loss in 2019, I penned an op-ed that the party needs to follow the approach of Bill Davis, more so than Donald Trump, and that I thought Bill Davis showed a level of pragmatism and moderation and thoughtfulness that was the best balance for governance in Canada. And I thought if they followed his approach, they would be successful. At this point, I'm just taking phone calls. I'm listening and talking, but you know, it's a difficult decision to make because I love my job in Brampton. I love serving the residents of Brampton. You know, I'll share a conversation with you. You know, obviously, I was greatly, you know, I appreciated the guidance of our former premier, and I sought his guidance. And, you know, he told me that one day he'd like to see me make a contribution at another level of government, but he'd like me to finish a term in Brampton first before I went back into that fold. And, you know, his words have always meant a lot to me. But, you know, there's issues on a federal level that affect Brampton. There are issues on a provincial level that affect Brampton. And at whatever level I serve, I'm going to be focused on making sure that the residents of Brampton that their best interests are served. But for now, I am focused on getting Brampton reopened, back on our feet, and I want to see our city succeed.
I can only imagine how difficult this decision is for you, and the advice, solicited and unsolicited, that you're receiving over the last few days. You made a point in your address that Brampton's voice is heard nationally. The issue of Bill 21 in Quebec. Canada has a lot of needs. Brampton has a lot of needs, and you've already demonstrated that you're able to influence both in a positive way. So we wish you well as you consider this important decision. Donna, I have a question for you now. You're a senior leader at Dynacare. You've been involved with the Board of Trade for about half a decade now. Why do you choose to support the Brampton Board of Trade, and what message do you have for those small and large businesses that may not be quite as engaged as they want to be?
Well, Todd, I've been a member of the Brampton community off and on, you know, working at Dynacare over 6.5 years. When I first had my first experience at the Brampton Board of Trade, I was invited to attend a panel. And I think that actually opened my eyes to just the world of the Brampton Board of Trade. And the panel was sharing thoughts and ideas around talent and how, and the members of the panel, there were some small businesses there, and they were struggling to attract people to Brampton. And they wanted to talk to someone around innovative ideas on how they could attract talent. They had some, I think, transportation issues that were impacting the attractiveness of their roles and so forth. And the topic ranged from a variety of issues: compensation, transportation, and you know, just overall how to engage and attract you know, top talent. And after that event, it just felt like this is a great avenue for Dynacare, you know, to really demonstrate their commitment to the Brampton community and to local businesses. We have the belief that if you give back to your community, we're giving back to our employees. If our employees work in a community or live in a community in which it's thriving, it's growing, businesses are successful, it's only going to make our business better. So that experience for me was just a great intro into the Brampton Board of Trade, and then the relationship started from there. I would say some of the great benefits that have, you know, I think Dynacare has benefited from has been simple things like advocacy on issues that impacting our employees. Advocacy on issues that are impeding our ability to deliver, you know, our mission of, you know, creating a healthy environment for our community, for Canadians at large. The Brampton Board of Trade has been amazing at helping us with our Dynacare for Diabetes campaign, which really focuses on educating the Brampton community on ways they can live a healthier lifestyle and on the importance of monitoring their A1C. And, through the Brampton Board of Trade, they played a key role in that. The other thing I'm thinking about is how I think there are many times where you've helped us demystify, the municipal government and local city. How do we navigate issues that are impacting our employees as they're trying to get to work safely, our surrounding area in which we operate. And a lot of the work we do is very time sensitive, and it's linked to making decisions on somebody's health and well-being. And so the timeliness of our vehicles being able to leave our facility is key. And I think some of the work connecting with the Brampton Board of Trade helped us kind of connect with the city and help come up with solutions that I think in the long term have benefited the community at large. So overall, it's been just a wonderful experience. I would say for any small or large business, I'd say the networks are just huge asset to any business to build relationships with small and large businesses. You can learn from each other no matter what the size of your business is. You can learn, share ideas around innovation, expertise, that you're able to leverage expertise across various businesses. So overall, it's been a wonderful experience. And I would just encourage folks to really, if they're not already a member, to really think about membership, because I know that our company would say we've truly benefited by being a member of the Board of Trade.
Well, thank you, Donna. And you're right. I mean, it takes a special type of business person that likes to get involved and can gain the most through the Brampton Board of Trade. They're interested not only in their own enterprise success, but like you, are interested in some of the larger issues, the health of the community, the ease of getting around. And my next question is to the mayor. It comes from our audience today. And, Donna mentioned a lot, and you mentioned in your address as well, how it's so important for the private sector and the public sector to work together. We do that through the Board of Trade, through the city, for the betterment of the entire city. One of the big issues that we have right now, we welcome 16,000 newcomers every year. That's wonderful. We're finding, though, that housing affordability is a challenge. And I know that you've been looking at solutions. You mentioned some fantastic figures in terms of new construction in residential, as well as commercial, as well as industrial in Brampton. And we've been advocating for solutions here in the private sector at the Brampton Board of Trade to ensure more varieties of housing available that can be affordable. I'm wondering if you could address this question for the audience member. What's Brampton Council doing to encourage more housing affordability and construction in the city?
So, quite often I get someone will come up to me when I'm at the grocery store or a local community center, and they'll say, what are you going to do to reduce housing prices? I think the first thing you have to do in public service is to be honest. And there are pressures well beyond a municipal space that will dictate the housing market. Interest rates are historically low. That may be changing, but they are historically low. There is inflationary pressures, and I don't see a decline of housing prices. What we could do, though, is we can create the fundamentals to have a more competitive housing market. Part of the challenge right now is that for every 10 people that want to buy a house, there's one house available. My friend Steve Clark, who's the Minister of Municipal Affairs, just had a housing conference that I participated in. And he's making some very important observations that he's working on in terms of creating more supply and all types of supply. I think we need to have an honest conversation at all levels of government, what we are doing to suffocate housing supply. And I believe everyone wears some of that burden. To get new supply in the market, it's too slow. It is too slow. And whether it is I'm going to look at a Brampton perspective. We have a local planning department. We have a regional planning department. There's a commenting period, and we have to wait for each other. Sometimes, the commenting period alone could be a year-long delay. let alone if there are conservation issues, heritage issues, archaeological issues. There are so many baked in provincial legislations that slow down the process to get new supply on. So for the first time, we're having a meaningful dialogue with the province on who does what and how we can create a more efficient timetable to bring new product onto the market. Because if we had more of a competitive marketplace where there was adequate supply that met community demand, you wouldn't see the type of escalation in prices that we're seeing now. And so I do think we need to see more supply that is in line with demand before we're going to see this course corrected. Now, sometimes there's economic disruptions and obviously recessions that change that on its own timetable. But I think the best thing we can do on a municipal level is to contribute to a faster process for the onboarding of new housing supply and products that reach into all markets. And what I mean by that is not everyone can afford a large single family home. And so if you have a slew of housing products that can help people get into the marketplace, I think we'll be better positioned to handle the market of today.
Thank you. Yes, it's a complex problem, but again, working together, private sector and public sector, and as you say, an honest conversation is certainly part of the solution, including the senior levels of government as well, because we want to welcome these 16,000 newcomers and have them enjoy a high quality of life like we do here in Brampton, and we want that to continue. Your Worship, I'm looking at comments here in the audience, and just kudos to you both for the passion that you show for your respective roles here in our community. We're kind of in a strange time in history right now in our city, our province, our country. We're coming out of a health crisis. There's a mental health crisis as well, an economic crisis that you articulated, Your Worship, in your address. We're seeing citizen unrest. We're seeing floods in BC, and I know that we have a recent investment from the federal government to address flooding in downtown development, which will allow some development as well. But all of these different crises that are occurring at the same time. The question from the audience member is, what are we doing about emergency preparedness? Be it citizen unrest, be it healthcare, be it environmental. What are we doing for emergency preparedness and readiness now and going forward? Can you help us understand that better, Your Worship?
So I'll jump into that. It's a very broad-based question. I think one thing the pandemic has taught us is that we were ill-equipped to handle an emergency. And what I mean by that is, and kudos to the business community for adapting, but our domestic supply chain was meager. We were so exposed because we were dependent upon a supply chain that was outside of our country for many key services. And you look at vaccines, you look at PPE, and we were ill-equipped. I know the government right now is provincially and federally putting funds into building a pharmaceutical capacity domestically, so we're not so exposed in the future. Our healthcare capacity, we were at 91% of our hospital beds in use when the pandemic started. Many other countries were 64%. And so we were very fragile at the start of this pandemic. And in terms of the environmental chaos that we've seen with floods in British Columbia, obviously that speaks to a different theme, which is the environmental responsibilities we have to the next generation of mitigating the effects of climate change. But I do hope this pandemic has really started a conversation in provincial capitals and in the House of Commons of never again are we going to be so exposed for not having the capacity to build and respond within our own borders.
Well, thank you very much for that thoughtful response. And thank you to you both. We live in interesting times, exciting times. And to your earlier point, Donna, working together, we will address these challenges and continue to boost the livability, the quality of life, and the economic power of our city here. I want to thank all of our sponsors for helping us create such a fun state of the city, such engaging commentary, both in their addresses and in the responses to the questions. Thank you, everyone, for your attention here today. If you'll allow me, I just want to let you know as we close out the official program, there is some time remaining if you'd like to connect with people that are on the call, either by networking, one-on-one networking. Again, you can use the icons. But I would like to tell you about some upcoming opportunities for you to learn more about your community, get to know some pretty exciting people, some pretty exciting businesses. And one thing that is coming up relatively soon is our May 5th. And this is going to be in person. We've had 2 years of virtual fun with our Business Excellence Awards, but on May 5th, we're planning on getting together at the Pearson Convention Center. And I'd like everyone, in the chat now, think about a business that you would like to nominate for a Business Excellence Award. Take a minute in the chat, maybe even your own business, but and I know that there are businesses that deserve recognition for their standard of excellence, be it customer service or they go the extra yard for you. And we will take their nominations and consider them seriously for the Business Excellence Awards. You have until March 15th, but I'd like you to put some names in there now at May 5th, on May 5th at the Business Excellence Awards. Of course, it is an opportunity for us to celebrate the 2022 Business Person of the Year, and Heather Stratty, partner with Deloitte, will be recognized for her long-standing contributions, and she's just an extraordinary recipient for Business of the Year this year, and we look forward to celebrating with you many exciting companies and Business Person of the Year. Over the next few months, you'll see a number of other event dates. Of course, March 2nd is Inspire Her. If you've not been to this event before, I really recommend it. It is in celebration of International Women's Day, but it is open to all genders, and it's a really inspirational event. We'll be presenting the Naseem Somani Award for Leadership Excellence to this year's recipient is Dr. Janet Morrison, the president of Sheridan. So I sure hope that you can make that. You can find out about registration for that event, an evening event, through bramptonbot.com. And again, ladies and gentlemen, small business, they're now open again, and I really do encourage you to participate and shop and dine. Of course, your participation here today included a gift card to the Food Quotient or J. Red & Co. We love supporting all of our restaurants, or you could have designated it to the Sheridan Student Emergency Fund, and we thank you for those contributions. Please feel free to stay on and check out the icons for the expo to explore more about programs and services that might help you at the Brampton Board of Trade, to explore more about our sponsors that have helped us here today. Thank you again to our presenting sponsors, Amazon, and to CN as well. Ladies and gentlemen, I am looking forward to seeing you again sometime soon at a Brampton Board of Trade event. Till then, stay well, stay healthy, and we look forward to seeing you real soon. Take care, everybody.